Good morning to you all. Today I'm going to show you some of these lamps, Bienenkorbglimmlampe, if I have pronounced it right, probably not. Translated simply means beehive and refers to the beehive neon. I've got several of these, well more than several, I've picked up over the years. Today I'll show you some of them. I have got others, they're in another box, so I've got to sort them out. I can show these individually, then light them up to show you the actual colour that they are. Mind you, they're all orange, but they might vary. Anyway, we'll start off with this little beauty. This is a continental one. There's no name on it. It's probably by Philips, but I'm not 100% certain. There's no etch, no name or anything on the glass. It shows a very nice beehive. It's easier to say beehive than Bienenkorbglimmlampe. We'll light that one up later. The two electrodes are simply two coils. There's no disc on these. In fact, a lot of the continental ones didn't have a disc. There was one that did. I'll show you at a later date. I've got to sort the other ones out. I've got loads of neons. I suppose I've specialised in these, and wherever I've seen them I've picked them up. So that's that one. Possibly Siemens. And that'll be the German Siemens. Now, moving on. There's the name on there. Chryselco. This was possibly made at the Osram Lamp Works. When I say the Osram Lamp, this is the English Osram Lamp Works. I know Chryselco was half Osram and half Philips. But having said that, I don't know. It might have been Philips made. There's the bulb itself. These have got a resistor in the base or the cap. You put these on full voltage without a resistor, you won't have a neon. They'll just virtually explode. This too has got electrodes of the same type and no disc, so it may be a Philips. Someone out there might have some ideas. This is mainly done for you interested in neons. Now, here we have one that has got a disc, and this is an English one. This is by Osram. It's a 5-watt job, which most of these beehives are. You can see it's got the little disc inside. When these have had many hours of use, the envelope goes black. The metal from the electrodes are deposited on the inside on the glass, and you end up with a black shiny envelope, and the light level is very much dimmed. But what happens eventually is that middle electrode, which is a disc, the wire that goes down to the pinch becomes thinner and thinner and thinner as the metal is deposited on the glass, and eventually it breaks off. You end with like two needle points, one on the disc which is floating about inside the bulb and the other one still on there. As you can see, they put an insulating glass tube there as well. But that's what happens in age. So if you've got a collection of these, try not to burn it for too long, or just put it up as a demonstration. I will light these a bit later to show you what they're like. It looks to me I put a couple of pip tops up. Here is another neon which is a pip top, where the ceiling was done through the top. This is quite an old one. I've got to be very careful actually lighting these, because this one has no name on it, or is there? Yes, there is a name on it. This would have probably been made by the section at Osram. I know it's got the Mazda name on it. I'm not going to light this one up. I feel pretty sure there's no resistor in the cap. It looks like it would have a resistor, but I'm not going to take the chance. Here we have a very old pip top neon. More or less the same shape of the electrodes. I think this looks more neater than the other one, the way it's arranged. You've got the flat disc, and that is really beehive shape. I won't try this one out. Now, these neons were made, I remember them as a kid, so we're talking about the 60s, 70s, and you could buy them in not every electrical shop, but good electrical shops which did supply a lot of interesting bits and bobs. And I encountered the ones by Osram. They weren't even called Osglim in those days. They had changed their name to Osram, and they were sold for 4 shillings and 7 pence. That is in our old money. Don't ask me what it is now. If you're lucky enough to pick one of these up on eBay, you could pay anything up to £100, which in my book is ridiculous, but there we are. That's how much these things can fetch. Now, this one came out later. In 1953, now I'm going back again, there was a special neon made which commemorated the coronation. I will show you these, but on another video. If I jabber on too long, you'll all be asleep. Anyhow, this was made by Atlas. The resistor in the base was simply a resistor, not a coil of wire, I don't think. Rather crude, well, I say crudely made. Not too bad, it does the job. You've got your disc inside. You've got your spring. Now, while talking about this, the metal used should be Swedish iron. I suppose the reason for using Swedish iron is there's less chance, it does over the years obviously and the hours of usage, breaks down to form this blackening of the glass. So Swedish iron, I would imagine, is a fairly pure form of iron. And that is what they use. A lot of the novelty neons that you can pick up from the Far East blacken within a few hours. So if you've got one of those, they're mainly made into different figures of animals. Some say I love you and so forth. Just keep them in the collection. Don't burn them for long, because they do soon turn black. Now this is the Atlas version. This would have been made over here, I feel pretty sure. We've got another pip top, so named because the ceiling pip's at the top. Looks identical to the other one I showed you with the Mazda name. This one has got a name on it. Turn it around, we can see it. There's the name, Osglim. And I would think this lamp was made in the same factory as the other one, which is that one there. They are identical. Put them side by side. They are identical. One with the Mazda name, one with the Osglim name. And these, in my opinion, would have both been made at the Osram Lampworks in Wembley. They did a lot of this lamps. They were made by other companies and had different names stamped on them, and I think this is a good example. Now lastly, before we light them up, you can light that Osglim up, we pick another one up. Now this is back on the continent, and I can read what it says. You might be able to see it. Osram, and that'll be the German Osram company, which at that time was owned by Siemens. There was Siemens in England, Siemens Brothers, and as I suggested, it was another brother of the very talented family. You'll often see equipment, Siemens and Halski, and they are two gentlemen who were very knowledgeable and made all equipment from trains, meters, generators, you name it, they made it. Siemens, Halski, and they made telephones as well, which is the point of interest. Yeah, see, it's got the information there. This will be a 240 volt lamp, so I can show you that one alight. And once again, that has got the twin coil electrodes. Whether this was actually made by German Osram or made for them by Philips, I do not know. As I said earlier, there was a lot of lamps made by each other with each other's names on it, so you can have a look and see what you think, and go back to that other one. This has got a tighter coil actually, but once again it looks very similar. This particular lamp I would say is slightly older than the one we're looking at now. Anyhow, I'm going to show these lit up. Only going to be showing the ones that have got a resistor inside. So excuse me if I don't put the one particular one which hasn't got a resistor, and it's one of these. There, well, that's the Mazda. I don't think there's a resistor in there, so I'm going to put this to one side. The rest I can show you. This one there hasn't got the voltage on it, so it may be 240 volt or 110. But don't worry, we've got my trusted Variac. I know my setup for testing stuff is nowhere as sophisticated as Alex. He's got a superb setup which I've been shown in detail, and he's adding to it the whole time. And I think he'll end up being able to test more or less any lamp going. Being a common neon to what they call them, a discharge lamp. I tend to not touch discharge lamps. We've got a little pussycat trying to jump up, so I might have to shoo him off, which I'm going to now. Come on now, you. Oh, you're a bad girl. She likes to get into everything. Anyway, I'm going to show you these are like. This little video's done obviously for Alex to have a look at. The Neon Young, he's very, very keen, and his mates are also equally as keen, including Chris, who I've got a little argument with at the moment, but he knows what it's about. Nothing nasty, it's just that I tend to look at things and realise that there is things which tend to be a little bit unsafe. But anyhow, enough of that. Good luck to you all. You're all very keen, and you know, there's a few neons there. I can put some others up at a later date. That's up to you. If you want me to put them up, let me know in any comments. I don't want to put stuff up that is not going to bring any interest. Anyway, like a lot of you do, you show the lamp working. I don't always do that, but I'm in this case. Anyway, let's have a little look at that one. Make sure the variac is on 0, which it is. And also, I'm going to have to change the plug over. So the light will go off. I will plug the variac in. And put the first lamp in, wind the variac up, and that's striking at 150 volts. I would think that is in fact a 240 volt lamp. We're on 240 now. I'll bring it down a bit so it shows up better on the camera. And there's what we have. This is quite a nice lamp all round. It's got that nice shape as well. Yeah, that's the first one. I'll turn it off. Always get in the habit of turning the variac off. It wouldn't be the first time I've put a bulb in and it's been set on a higher voltage than the lamp. And I've blown it. Let's put another screw base lamp in. This is the one, yeah, this is the German Osram. Got the same type of electrodes, like 2 springs. There she goes, another very nicely formed lamp. An idea what it looks like. I do like these. Chances of getting them now is pretty remote. I can show you quite a few of these. I've got a lot of American ones, perhaps not as exciting, but I have got them. A lot of smaller neons, half watters, in like a pygmy envelope. I'll take this one out. Also got a Siemens version. This is the English Siemens, which the electrodes are not in the shape of a beehive. They're like 2 flat plates forming like a square. And we'll put an English lamp up. Once again, the Variex 0. This, as far as I know, yes. Yeah, this is 240 volt neon. I'll turn it on the side. They don't look quite as pretty as the German ones, but you can see the disco light and the wire connecting it down to the glass tube. Well, that's the part that wears thin, and eventually, when it's deposited all its metal on the inside of the glass, it just ends up like 2 points of a needle where it's worn away. There is a posh word they use which I have forgotten what it is. So don't worry, there's the Beehive. You can turn it down a bit, you get an idea. Right, on to the next. This will be the Osglim, which I'm pretty sure there is a resistor in there. So we'll wind it up with great care. If in doubt, use the Variac, very careful. We're winding it up. Man, it's not working. I don't know what's gone wrong there. That one is obviously not a worker. Oh, here we are, it's working now. I don't know what I've done, but it just suddenly started to work. I think it might have been that sometimes you need extra light or daylight acting on the electrodes to make them strike. Often or not, you turn one of these neons on and it doesn't light up immediately, but hold a torch light to it, it will strike. And I think this was the case with this one. As you can see, this has got a resistor inside. If it didn't, that would go quite bright and it would not do it any good. Let's look at it sideways. You can see the pip top and the actual Beehive itself. A very nice lamp. If you saw one of these on eBay, they would probably be asking £100 for it, which in my book is ridiculous. I've never paid that kind of money for these, and I've got quite a few. So in my earlier days it paid to grab the things. I feel sorry for the younger generation who are getting into collecting. They're going to find great difficulty in picking up stuff which I've found not easy but not too difficult. And in England we got what is called boot sales. A lot of my stuff have been found at boot sales. I'll tell you a little story about these. I bought a job lot of lamps from a gentleman who had cleared out a pumping station, and he had quite a few bulbs, some very old ones, some squirrel cage, some carbons, you name it, he had it. And I was lucky enough to be at that boot sale seller at the right time, and I made him an offer. Well, I said to him, how much if I take the lot? And he gave a price. I don't remember what the price was. It was not very much, I'll tell you that now. A few years ago, and a lot of these lamps still had their wrappers on them. So I had an ohm meter, or testing meter, which tests continuity, and I thought, oh, let's just see which ones are workers and which ones are not. And so without taking the bulb out of the wrapper, I didn't know what the bulbs were. They were a bulb. I was using an ohm meter, so I wouldn't blow anything up or burn anything out. You could just test whether the filament was intact. Well, the majority of these worked fine, but some of them didn't. And I thought, oh, blimey, those ones are no good. So I thought, well, let's have a look at them just to make sure, see what type they are. But it's really a collection. It doesn't have to be lamps that are working. I've got lamps upstairs which are burnt out or damaged. So when I took the bulbs out, lo and behold, they were neons. And of course they wouldn't show any continuity. So I was more than pleased. And a lot of these lamps you see today probably originated from that gentleman at the Wimbledon boot sale. Wimbledon boot sale was actually famous. It was a collector's market. I keep saying a boot sale, but it was better than a boot sale. You normally think of a boot sale as piles of clothes, piles of shoes, piles of household, I was going to say crap, but I won't. Stuff like that which doesn't interest me in the least. But there was the little gems. The antiques, barometers, lamps, electrical bits and bobs. You never knew what you were going to get. Anyhow, I go off at a tangent talking about that. Anyhow, this concludes this little lecture, or lecture, not a lecture, talk. I'm not a bloody lecturer. I just like talking and try and give you an idea what I've got. Now, any comments please make. I can show you some more. And I'm thinking, as I say, the gentleman on the continent, France, Germany, and I'm sure other people look at these as well. So anyhow, have your say. If there's any information you want and I can give it, I will. I don't know everything. I don't confess to know everything. But I suppose after collecting for 70 years, I might have learnt a little bit. So once again, thanks for watching, and hope you all enjoyed. Thank you again. Thank you.